a perfect piece of wood for us to do our next tree project. And I'm just staying on trees because they're silhouettes. They're relatively easy to represent. So you can see by looking at the outside here that probably what I'm going to need to do is, I like the concept of this and that, the dark and light, because remember our wood burning is going to be about that same color, if not a little bit darker. It'll be a charcoal gray, more towards a black halftone. So probably what I'm going to do is just sand that down, and also sand the middle part down, and that's probably the natural color of the wood. It's assembled like a cabinet door or something else. They've got 3 or 4 different pieces in there instead of a solid sheet. If it's a solid sheet, you're golden. That's what you always want to look for when you go to a thrift store and look for a piece of wood to work with. So we'll do that. We'll go sand her down. And I think what I'm going to do this time, instead of just transferring the picture in, I think I'm just going to try to, in lieu of time, I think I'm just going to take my pencil, and I've got some sketches I've done of some very basic limbs or portions of trees, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's what we're going to do on this one, and we'll see what it looks like when we get the sanding done. All right, and we'll go to the next step. Hey, we spent about 15 minutes sanding this piece down. As it turns out, it looks like white pine. And I'm using a 100 grit sandpaper to clean this off, and I think there's enough of the rustic look, given the way it was treated, that we could actually just leave the periphery the way it is and just go on the inside and get that cleaned up and sanded down. But because of the work we're going to do on the inside of this, I am going to go ahead and sand the rest of the periphery off as well as the inside. Hey y'all, we're back, and I just finished sanding around the outside and sanding on the inside. Decided to do is, just in lieu of time, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freehand draw a piece on the inside here, kind of do it as I go, do it in pencil, and then go back and ink it in using my Sharpie marker. And then what I'm going to do is go in and finish off just the inside of it with the tung oil finish, which will darken it up, and then I'll make a decision, you know, how dark I want to do the outside, which we're just going to use as a natural frame. And I'm also going to do it against the grain. You can see, I don't know if you can see that well or not, but you can see where it looks like 3 pieces of wood have been joined together, and it's the same as the outside, and then it's actually nailed into place. And again, this was manufactured in India. You can see the small nails. It was probably done on a factory, on an assembly plant. Hey y'all, I'm back and just finished doing a rough sketch of the tree that I'm going to do in here, and did it in did it just a regular old pencil. And keep in mind that 2 things. Number one is that, again, we drew the pencil drawing against the grain, or up and down. The grain's running this way, and be a little bit more forgiving when we do the wood burning. And also too, you have to draw it light, because if you're not careful, which I learned on the first one, is if you push too hard down with the pencil, it'll leave marks in the wood. You're actually scoring the wood. So the next step on this is to go in and ink it in. And when I ink it in, what I want to do is I'm probably going to wind up creating some more branches in different spots. And when I ink it in, what's going to happen is we're going to thicken up the branches all the way around, because a little bit thicker is better, given that this is the only thing that's going to be in there. So I hope the picture is good enough for you to at least see it. It's kind of tough to you know, there's not a whole lot of contrast between the graphite and the back. But anyway, next step is to go in and take our Sharpie marker and ink that puppy up. See you in a second. Okay, well, we've put on about 3 coats of the finished on just the inside, and as I did that, I realized that the different colored pieces of the separate pieces of wood, each one rendered its own color. So we almost have 4 different colors there, which is good, which is like a sunset or a sunrise, and it's quite unique. And I'm going to cut a light on here in just a second, so maybe you can see a little bit better how that background turned out. We're still only about halfway through putting the finish on, but you never know what you got until you start putting the finish on and getting the wood moist. Here's the here it is again. It's kind of at a side view, so you can get an idea about the different colors better. It always works better in natural light, but we're just doing it here in the studio. And you can see that that's quite different than any other backgrounds we've come up with as of yet. And next step is to finish up all the coats, and then at that point in time we'll go in and do the wood burning. Going to the next step. Hey everybody, we are back and we are down to the very last step. And I went ahead and finished the outside of the serving plate that we're using as our canvas. And it's kind of distressed looking, which I love, so I went ahead and just finished that off. And the next thing to do is to go ahead and do the final step, the most important, which is do the wood burning. And I'm gonna have to choose one of the bits for my wood burner, try to find out which one will best replicate my drawing. And you can see again, as we went over before, I have gone in and done the wood burning, so you can see which bit renders what type of an image. And so I'm probably going to start with either that or that, starting with the tree here, the base of the tree rather, and go from there. I'm going to put that on time lapse because it is quite lengthy. The wood burning probably takes less time than actually drawing the image onto the wood, but we'll go ahead and get started on that here in just a second. Hey guys, I have gone in and burned in the base of the trunk up to about right there. I was using that big wedge piece, and remember, natural light's our friend anytime we look at our artwork, but as it turns out, that mimics the exact same thing of the frame or the outside that we stained prior to the wood burning. So it's awesome to see, because you never know what's going to happen. but it's awesome to see how this has turned out. And again, I'm using the big piece or the big wedge to burn that in, and then once I get up here to the periphery or around to the small branches, I'll try to figure out what I'm going to use to make, make that real thin. But I don't know if you can see it real well on the video, but this actually mimics the same texture as the frame itself, and that was done by sheer accident. That was not intentional. But anyway, it's really neat to see that, and I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit, see if you can see that better here. And there you can see the texture, and for all you know, that's what the bark looks like, which it actually doesn't. But you can see the difference in the wood burning and the drawing there. And I'll put it back into time lapse, and we'll go ahead and finish this puppy up. See you in a second. Hey guys, I've worked about another 20 minutes on doing the burning in here, and there's something I forgot to tell you, is that once you get the majority of the trunk, it could be a trunk or a boat or whatever you happen to be wood burning, cover up as much space as you can with the big bit and then start working small, because you can always go back and fill stuff in. And I'm going to try to show you how do you know where you have and have not burned. And I want to show you that here in just a second. I'm going to move the camera from showing you this direction. We'll take a look and see. And now you can see where we have burned and where we have not, which is at the top part of the tree here. And so all you have to do is just pick that thing up and move it around, and you can see where you have and have not burned. That helps you go back. And a lot of people have told me, well, Chris, I'm not a brain surgeon. I can't do something that detailed. Actually, you can. Just be patient. When it doesn't look right, just stop, take a break, get another cup of coffee, and pick back up and go when you know where you're going to start. Hey, y'all, we're at a point now where I can spend a little bit of time explaining perspective. If you look at that, and I hope the light is good enough, I don't know, but you can see where the trunk of the tree is a light black or a gray, and the rest of the tree is black. And this is where we can go in and we can decide whether or not to burn in our drawing. We've already got it sealed with the wood finish, and this is something we're going to do on our next project, the one that's going to be up in the restaurants up in New Jersey and a couple other places. And it adds another dimension to it. In other words, if you can see here how this is the gray color here, and that's the black color. If you remember looking at mountains, you know that the closest mountains are darker. The mountains that are further away are lighter. So we could actually incorporate this into this wood burning, but I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. It's also going to be auctioned here in Atlanta, and so I've got to go ahead and finish it the way I said I was going to finish it. But it's really neat to do because you can make it lighter and darker. We've only got two tones though, lighter and darker relative to how close it is to you. The further away, there's less light to reflect off of the object, therefore it's going to seem, a lighter color, and the inverse is true as well. If it's closer to you and there's sun behind it or light behind it, it's going to seem darker. So you could actually incorporate that all in this drawing, but we're just all going to do it the same color because we've already promised this for an auction. So and then we'll keep burning this in, and we'll see you in a second.